but it is true. It was essentially 4,000 babies that I delivered, and it's a delightful thing to bring new life into the world. That is something that I've very much enjoyed. I did have to get up in the middle of the night a few times, but it was worth the effort. And 3 of our children are now MDs. My youngest daughter is now practicing OBGYN. So we've been very much involved in medicine as well as our family life. In the 50s, when I was in school, society accepted the idea that abortions wouldn't be done. So our moral attitudes and understanding and our religious personal values make all the difference in the world. Talk to people who are pregnant that don't want to be pregnant and offer services and offer medical care and offer homes. And there's a lot to be said about that. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't ignore the legal aspect of it. Now, I pride myself in being a civil libertarian. I really believe liberty is important for all of us. Because if we don't protect our First Amendment, we can't protect our religious values either and our religious choices. And sometimes that's hard because sometimes people, make the wrong choices, and yet we have to protect the right to life and liberty. And what we have done so far, though, is we have lost our way. But you can't very well defend liberty and personal choices if you don't defend life. Life is crucial that we understand it. And today I was reading something on the internet, and they were criticizing me, coming from the other wing of the party, and they were saying, he actually thinks, he believes that life begins at conception. Like we had a choice. That's a scientific matter, when life begins. And life begins at conception. And the decision is when do you protect life? And some people say, at the later stages or middle stages, and you can go all through that argument. But one thing I do know is that life begins at conception, and also the legal rights of the unborn begins at conception too. Think of inheritance rights. It comes at the time of conception that legal rights are established. And also, as a physician, I had to take care of 2 patients all the time. And if I made a mistake, rightfully so, I could be liable for injuring the unborn because of the legal standing of the baby. And yet there's been so much callous approach to this that, oh no, this is different. We're dealing only with the privacy of the mother. But what about the privacy of the unborn? We have to recognize that. We also know that if there's a homicide and the unborn's killed, it's a double homicide. That's well established. And yet we put blinders on and pretend, that it really doesn't exist and that we don't have to deal with it and we can have abortion on demand. I think the crisis can be best described when we see the law being changed, like Roe versus Wade did, which is one of the worst rulings. They shouldn't even heard that case because it was a Texas law that was protecting the unborn. The federal government doesn't have that jurisdiction to deal with it. And yet they went into medical things, what you could do in the first trimester, the second trimester, where you could do it in the third trimester. But they essentially legalized abortion on demand, which means if a woman comes to me and or any doctor, and the doctor does the abortion even in the third trimester, he can get paid. But if for some reason the mother is in dire straits and happens to deliver a baby and throws the baby away, she's arrested for murder. So what's the difference between 1 minute? 1 minute before birth and 1 minute after birth. If we don't resolve that in a moral sense, to understand that there is no difference between that life, we really can't solve that problem. So this is the reason I've been outspoken about the abortion issue. It doesn't satisfy everybody with my position, even those in the right to life, because I believe it is up to the states. See, I don't believe in Roe versus Wade. And if you resort to the federal government, say the federal government can solve all these problems, and you turn this authority over to the federal government, if they make a mistake, then they make a mistake for all of us. And this is essentially what happened. We had a law, the Roe versus Wade, and then it was overthrown. And one of my approaches is to immediately pass a bill, which we should have done as soon as we had control of the House and the Senate and the presidency, and I limit jurisdiction. We can do that with a majority vote by the Congress and a signature by the President. You don't have to wait till the courts are changed. You don't have to wait to amend the Constitution. So even if you believe you want to do that, we should pass the law that removes the jurisdiction. So if South Carolina wants to have a law against abortion, it can't be repealed by the Supreme Court. I think that would have, if we'd have done that before, we would have saved millions of lives.
Amen. Amen.